Hi, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome back if you've joined me for videos before. Today I'm going to be using this mini stamp set from Lawn Fawn. It's a Get Well Soon stamp set. Hopefully I don't have to make too many Get Well Soon cards in my life, but I wanted to have this little stamp set in my arsenal. So I'm stamping this Band-Aid image with some Versamark ink on some watercolor paper. I'm going to heat emboss it with Hero Arts white embossing powder. So when you heat emboss with a clear or a white embossing powder, or actually any embossing powder, you can actually use it as a resist technique. So I'm laying down some distress oxide colors here, and I'm going to do a smushing, ink smushing technique where I spritz it with water and then I lay down my cardstock, and you can already see where the Band-Aid image is resisting the ink there. The cool thing about oxides is that you can go in and layer your colors, so if you dry in between, you can get some really cool layering effects. Now, I do have to admit that I go a little too far. I kind of wish I'd stopped here, but I went a little too far with the colors and kept going and going, and I got a color I didn't really love in the end. But what I have learned over my card making experience over the last year or so is to never just throw it away. Set it aside for a minute. If you don't love it, that's okay. Come back to it. You might find another way you can use it. You don't have to completely ditch it. So that's exactly what I did here. I set it aside and said, let me just work on something else. So now I'm coming in and stamping with some black ink. This is Catherine Pooler Midnight ink, and then I'm just going to color these little Band-Aid images in with some Prismacolor pencils. I decided to stick to a traditional Band-Aid color, somewhat flesh tones here. You could do any kind of color you want, because the fun thing about stamps is how you make them your own. The basic image might be the same, but you can always make them your own. But I decided to just go with the classic Band-Aid colors here. So I'm using a few different colors. I am not a colorist. I'm just learning as I go and watching other people color. But I found this great little tool, which is this Prismacolor marker. It's a clear blending marker, and you can use it with the pencils as well, because the pencils are wax based, and it just kind of blends all the colors together, so you don't have to have an art degree to get good coloring. All right, so I'm taking some of these other really cute images. This little bird nurse, I'm putting a little like cross on her little nurse hat, so it's easier to tell that she's a bird nurse. And I'm gonna just color in with the pencils here and use that same technique of using different colors and then taking that clear blending marker to blend everything together. So this whole process has been about practicing some patience with myself. It's one thing that I've never had in my life, is patience. My dad said I was born impatient, so I have definitely, it's been a daily practice of just, letting things just come in their time and accepting that it will all work out when it's supposed to, if I just, take action in what I need to do on a daily level, and also to push myself in other ways where things can actually align and happen the way they're supposed to. Well, while I'm coloring here, I just wanted to read a little excerpt that I totally related to. It's from an online article from Entity by Marie Kim. It's about patience. She says, "Whenever I've been asked in a job interview what thing about myself I could work on, I always have the same answer: patience. The biggest victim of my impatience is, unfortunately, myself. We've all been frustrated with ourselves, whether it's with our skills, accomplishments, journey, development, or shortcomings. Those of us who don't have the patience for ourselves are constantly self-criticizing and disappointed. However, I've thought about how best to improve, and I've learned that if we learn to be patient with ourselves, we can draw our attention away from the negatives. We then focus on positive traits and work towards self-development." I just like that little reminder about, let's look at the positive things that we're doing and not focus on the negative. I think that's just everything: patience, gratitude, tolerance, just everything in life. So, and it can also transfer over to your crafting. I start some projects sometimes where I have this great idea in my head, but then I start to do it and it doesn't really look very good. But I just keep working it and see what I can come up with. And usually by the end of it, I have a card or a project that I really, really like, because I was patient with myself to not stop and to keep going. All right, so I'm just working on some composition here. I did a little ink blending in the middle of that cardstock, and I didn't really like the color. So now I'm trying it with some blue and just coming up with a composition with my images, trimming the paper down and putting it on a card base. I wanted to give it a little bit of a black frame because I thought it would look nice with the black sentiment strip. And I'm going to pop it up here. I can say pop it up. I'm just going to glue it on. Put it on and glue down my images. So here's one little thing that I've gotten better at using is my little T-square ruler. It helps me put things onto my card front in a straight fashion. I used to eyeball it and I could always tell it was just a little off. So I'm trying to use that little $5 ruler. It's a perfect little tool to have in your arsenal as well. Okay, so going back to that first background that I made, I didn't love it, but I decided to make it into a frame for a shaker card. So I'm going to tape down a piece of clear acetate on the back of my frame. This is going to be the little window where you can actually see the image and I'm going to use the sequins moving around in the shaker card. I wanted the background image inside to have a pop of more color, and I thought I would go with this little technique here, but once I got it done, I didn't really like how that looked together. I thought it was just too much band-aid on band-aid, so I was like, scrap it. So instead of scrapping it, I put it over to the side, and I'm like, I'm just going to cut out my sentiment strip and think about something else I want to do on the image. So decided to go with another black strip here. Now, I do like the blue on there, and I didn't have enough blue on my frame, so I just took some of my peacock feathers, Distress Oxide, and just added some in with a paintbrush. You can always just go back in and layer. It's a beautiful thing. So I liked that kind of halo blending effect that I had on the first card, so I went in and did it with this one as well, and did the same black sentiment strip with the little bird nurse and left it at that, and that was going to be the inside panel of my shaker card. So a great tip I learned, I can't remember off of which video, I've seen it on quite a few, is to glue down some sequins on the inside, and that way when you shake the card, some will always be in place, but it also gives the other sequins a chance to kind of catch on them, so you don't have everything just falling to the bottom on the inside of the card. I just think it's really neat. So that's what I did here. I glued down some sequins. Now I put some double-sided foam tape around the inside edge of my frame, and then I'm putting some a more mix of sequins with the same colors and some little hearts that I had from Michael's. Taking the backing off my tape, as you can see, the back side of that had that first blending I did, so I just flipped over to the other side and used it, so that panel wasn't ever wasted. And that part's just going to be glued down to a black card base, which gives it a nice frame. I do have a white gel pen. If you don't want to add in a white panel inside of the card to write your message, you could do it with a white gel pen. All right, so we got 2 cards there. Moving on to the third. Going to be using that last Band-Aid background image, and I also colored in some other pill bottles with a blue color. Now, instead of using another sheet of blue cardstock or paper, I just took my blue ink pad and went around the edges, and that way it's a little less bulk on the card as well, and you get that nice blue frame. You could use any color there, and it looked kind of messy, but when you put the panel over it, nobody will know. I decided instead of going with that circle sentiment that I wanted to use a smaller rectangular sentiment, and I just think the black and blue on, I hate to say flesh tone because we all have different colors of flesh, but kind of creamy colored Band-Aids look really good together. Just kind of some 3 basic colors that just seem to be going really well together. Just popping that up with some foam tape, and also with the pill bottles with some foam tape just to give it some nice dimension. And we've got 3 separate Get Well cards here done with a mini stamp set from Lawn Fawn. I just love the way these all turned out. I didn't want to have to necessarily invest in a big Get Well Soon stamp set. I love the fact that they offered this tiny little set. I think I paid $4 for it. You could also get matching dies, but these were so easy to fussy cut. So anyway, those are my cards. I hope you enjoyed watching me make them. I hope you join me next week for another round of card making. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and to check out my website or my Instagram page if you'd like to see more things that I do. So go out and make stuff and have a great week. Bye.